Welcome back, and we're coming to you from the construction site of the Grand Egyptian Museum. The ancient Egyptians believed in life after death, and one of the most important aspects to maintain and achieve an afterlife is to preserve the body. And that's why the ancient Egyptians, those who could afford it, of course, mummified the bodies. The mummies, these ancient mummies, became important artifacts on its own, because not only it told us about the species of the Egyptians and at the time their race, their skin color, but also with DNA you can know more about the type of diseases they suffered from or not, the bone structure, whether they had malnutrition or not. So there are so many things that you can detect from a mummy, in addition of course to the wrappings, and each era had a different way of wrapping. So it's a big and an important science, and today we will be meeting with Mr. Saeed Mansour, and he is head of the Mummies and Human Remains Conservation Lab, to shed more light on the mummies and human remains that arrived to the Grand Egyptian Museum. Welcome with us and good afternoon.
Welcome and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mansour, for being with us. And since you are the head of the Mummies and Human Remains Conservation Lab, would you tell us more about the recent activities in this lab here in Egypt?
Firstly, welcome to our Grand Egyptian Museum, and welcome to our Mummies and Human Remains Conservation Lab. I am Saeed Mansour, head of Mummies and Human Remains Conservation Lab. The Mummies Lab is one of the most important laboratories in Conservation Center. Firstly, we are responsible for receiving the mummies from different museums and archaeological areas and different archaeological areas in Egypt. After receiving the mummies from the museums and different archaeological areas from all over Egypt, from Fayoum, from Bani Suef, from Luxor, Aswan, Nile Valley, Oasis, all of these areas. After that, we start the conservation processes. The conservation processes starting with packing and unpacking the mummies. After unpacking the mummies according to the scientific methods, we put the action plans or the conservation action plans. Firstly, we have to put in our mind that we are dealing with sensitive type of artifacts, which is human, not inorganic, not stone, not metal, it's a body. So we have to put in our mind that this is very sensitive types of mummies. So all steps and all conservation issues, all conservation plans, so should be deal from this point. Firstly, the activities in our lab starting with putting the action plan, then choosing the materials, choosing the chemical materials, choosing the devices, the techniques, how we will deal with the mummy, how we will deal with the mummification processes, how we will evaluate the deterioration phenomena, deterioration factors in these mummies. What about the deterioration by the microbiology? The microbiology is one of the most famous deterioration factors affect on the mummy. After assessment or after evaluation, the condition check about the mummy, we start the conservation. The conservation depends on the condition. Firstly, we deal with the mummy with special or with private ways. We use some chemical materials to kill the microbiology deterioration. Then conservation to control in the humidity, to control in the temperature. After that, we deal directly with the mummy, with the box, with the wooden box of the mummy. Then after finishing the conservation process, the mummy will become to be stored or accepted. This is in general how we would deal with this type of artifacts.
Now, before the interview, you told us that there are 6 mummies, 2 royal and 4 noblemen. Now, definitely the royal mummies in their shape and the way they are wrapped are totally different than the individuals or noblemen. So would you talk to us about these mummies and what was really interesting about them?
Yeah, sure. In our lab, we have 6 mummies, 2
Yes.
royal and 4 individual.
Yes.
So the two royal is different. So we have to choose different material. We have to be careful during dealing with these artifacts in conservation, in storage and exhibition. Special exhibition, special storage, special dealing.
Okay. What are the challenges that you face in your work, since you're telling us it's a very delicate work and it requires a lot of taking care about
the big challenge is that it's human. So to deal with dyed human, it's a big challenge. We have to use special materials. We have to use special chemicals. We cannot deal directly with the body. We have to make some analysis and investigations about the body, about the bone, about the skill. So sometimes we cannot deal with the mummies. Sometimes we just make preventive conservation. We just control in the humidity and the temperature, not dealing directly on the body. This is the challenge. Most of cases, we cannot deal directly with the body. We just make control in the mummies and preservation the condition around the mummy.
What about the individuals? Were they male or female mummies?
Some of them is male and some of them is female. 2 male and 2 female.
And what were the condition of the individual mummies, the noblemen or women?
It suffered from many deterioration factors as the effect of the barrier and environment and the condition shock. They accepted to condition shock as a result of transportation from area to another area, from tomb to another tomb, from Fayoum to Egypt. So this is the challenge now. So it suffers from many deterioration factors.
And what are the artifacts that you're working on now, or the mummies that you're working on currently now?
Currently we are working on 2 mummies. We finished 4 and 2 is already now in progress.
Belonging to who, the 2 mummies?
2 mummies royal.
Yes, whose mummies?
As soon as